6 friends, all energetic 20-somethings, are living together in a vibrant city, facing relationship drama, job struggles, and everyday shenanigans. But no matter what happens, their bond remains strong. Any guesses on the sitcom's name? Nope, not that one. The one that came before it.
Check it out, check it out. What you want for reposition?
Living Single, created by Yvette Lee Bowser, premiered on Fox in 1993 and featured an all-black cast of funny, inspirational, and upwardly mobile friends sharing laughs, love, and a Brooklyn brownstone. The immediate and unexpected hit starred Queen Latifah, Kim Coles, Erika Alexander, T.C. Carson, John Henton, and Kim Fields. Yvette told The Atlantic in 2018 that she felt obligated to create a show like Living Single. I was a very frustrated writer on a show about Black people where there were basically no Black people in power behind the scenes, so that set the tone. That was the impetus for me becoming more determined to create something so that I could create what I felt were more well-rounded depictions of us, as well as creating a workplace that was not necessarily warm and fuzzy, but more open to us, a workplace that embraced us. And by us, I mean women and people of color. Her goal was to develop a show about herself and her friends that would change the portrayal of young Black people on television. She wanted the characters to be positive and less stereotypical. So, how did things get off the ground?
This is how Living Single got started. I had a deal at a studio. Queen Latifah had a deal at a studio. They put the two of us together, and then the studio went out and found the right person to create this show around the two of us.
So I wasn't interested in doing something that was just kind of this wacky slapstick thing. I wanted to do something that was really a little more gritty, a little more edgy, a little more based in my personal reality. And I happened to have an idea for a show which was about kind of me and my friends and our adventures as young women trying to make sense of the big, cruel world.
Since Latifah and Kim Coles were new to narrative storytelling on TV, Yvette's goal was to surround them with veterans who would carry more weight if needed. To go about finding these experts, she said she did something very unusual. She sat in on the pre-reads, when the casting team meets with all the many actors interested in the roles and filters the numbers down to the select group who audition in front of show producers. She did this to learn more about the process and to hone her own sensibility about casting. The breakout star of the bunch would end up being Erika Alexander. In the auditioning process, she was a revelation to me because of course I had seen her as Cousin Pam on The Cosby Show, but I didn't think that the character was particularly humorous. The character of Max, though, is a funny character, and Erika showed she could go there during her audition. But it almost didn't happen. Years later, Yvette revealed that executives wanted to cut Erika from the ensemble. Ultimately, they reached a compromise, which is how Max ended up living across the street from everyone else. After deciding on who would play Max, Yvette knew she had to be mindful of whom to select as Kyle. T.C. Carson was an actor out of Chicago who sent in a tape. Yes, a VHS tape, people. I'm talking about a VHS. I popped his tape in and watched his audition, and I was like, that's Kyle. That's Kyle. She also said she could envision him opposite Erika as Maxine. Interestingly enough, the two actors didn't do a chemistry read, which is the standard these days, but it still worked out. I just had to rely on my own instincts about how that would pan out, but Erika and TC share a birthday. They were always supposed to be two sides of the same coin, so it's very interesting the serendipity that came into play. From there, it was just a matter of casting Regine and Overton, and Yvette already knew who would fit those roles perfectly. I did actually meet with Kim Fields, whom I knew from a mutual friendship, and asked her if she would be in the show. She did have to audition. Unfortunately, it wasn't an offer, but she was Regine in my mind. Yvette had admired her work as Tootie on The Facts of Life, and wanted to do something that was a contrast to that. John caught Yvette's eye when he worked on a pilot the previous season for a show that didn't get picked up. I was like, that guy's funny. Really, really funny, and I just got an energy about him that was just lovable. I didn't know if he could really act, but he could, and I found that out during the casting process. Fun fact, the show's original title was My Girls and was changed to Living Single just before it debuted. The theme song, so catchy that it became burned into the minds of fans everywhere, was performed by none other than Queen Latifah herself. While parts of the song are rapped, which makes her voice easy to identify, the singing vocals are hers too. There was also another part of the intro that was just as loved as the theme song, and that was the woman dancing in silhouette. At one point, it was assumed to be a few different people, including Erika. Later, we learned that it was dancer, choreographer, actress, radio and television personality Leslie Segar, better known as Big Les.
But this is a good friend of mine, Leslie, and you viewers don't get to see this. She's just dances her ass off for everybody.
Living Single featured 3 women and 2 men living in 2 different households in the same building. The 6th character, although technically receiving her mail across the street, spent so much time over at the apartment with the other 3 women that she's seen as somewhat of an honorary 4th roommate.
You've never seen these women before, in terms of you've never seen this kind of premise of 4 black women, that 20-something age range, who are in New York trying to make it. One of our critics said, that this kind of premise sounded familiar. Not. I mean, the whole point is that, something like this has not been done before.
In the first apartment, Khadijah James, played by Queen Latifah, is a Howard University graduate and the smart, hard-working, and enterprising editor and publisher of Flavor, a fictional urban independent magazine devoted to the interests of the African American community. She lives with her sweet but naive cousin, Sinclair James, played by Kim Coles, an aspiring actress who works as Khadijah's receptionist, as well as her childhood friend from New Jersey, Regine Hunter, played by Kim Fields, a gossip-loving social climber and clothing boutique buyer who is on a constant search for a man of means to put a ring on it. Maxine Max Shaw, played by Erika Alexander, is a sharp-tongued attorney and Khadijah's best friend from their college days. She spends much more of her time in the other women's apartment than her own, frequently stopping by to chat, raid their kitchen, and to start some mess with Kyle. Kyle Barker, played by T.C. Carson, lives upstairs in the second apartment. He's a stockbroker and roommates with Overton Wakefield Jones, played by John Henton. Despite their constant bickering, he later becomes Max's on-again, off-again love interest. Overton is the friendly and simple-minded maintenance man of their and the neighboring building, who's had a major crush on Sinclair since the day she moved in. The two eventually begin dating and later marry by the end of the 4th season. Fun fact, even though Overton and Sinclair get together on the show, in real life, John and Kim Fields were an item at one point during filming. In season 5, Overton and Sinclair then move in together, leaving Overton and Kyle's apartment open for recurring character Ronnie DeSantos, played by Idalis De Leon, a New York area DJ, to move in. It was eventually revealed that she had a fling with new main character Ira Lee Williams III, better known as Trip, played by Mel Jackson, a songwriter whom Khadijah and Regine allowed to move in when Sinclair's room became available. Another change in that 5th and final season was Kyle's absence. In the 2nd episode, he moves to London where he's accepted a job offer. That type of send-off may have led fans to believe that TC left the show of his own accord. Years later, though, we'd find out that assumption couldn't be further from the truth.
I got fired. We had a lot of, I won't say a lot, but there were times when we had issues on the show. And we would come to them as a cast. But I would be the spokesperson for it. And so that last season before I left, they called me in and they basically said, well, all these problems that, we've been having, they listen to you. You're the person they listen to. So if you said something else, then they would do that. And I kind of looked at them, I said, well, first of all, we're dealing with 5 grown people, and they have their own mindset and their own ideas about what we're doing. And everything we come to you with is a group decision, not my decision. But if you think I have that much power, then I need to have a different job. I need to have a different job. And I don't think they like that. So they were sending me off to London. And I said, so you getting ready to fire me? I just need to know so I can line up my stuff and so I can be prepared. They're like, no, we never break up the group. No, we wouldn't do that. Watching the episode goes off. Not 2 minutes later, my phone rings. And it's my lawyer telling me that they're not going to bring me back next year. And it wasn't that I got fired. It was the way it was done.
Another cast member's absence that was felt during the final season, albeit not on the same level as TC's, was Kim Fields. Regine may have continued to remain an official main character, but fans didn't see much of her. The reason why was very personal. I left Living Single a few episodes shy of completing the final season because the work, the process, and everything else didn't feel the same for me. I was at that point either divorced or about to be divorced. I started a production company, and we had all these great projects, but no deals. I went through a stage where I completely shut down. I had these blackout drapes in my house, and I closed the drapes and stayed in the bed for about 2 weeks, maybe longer. I kept running down my resume to God. I'm a tither, I'm a worshiper, I'm faithful, I'm a good person, I was a good kid. All the things that should not equal me being here. I didn't claim depression, but if I'm being real with myself, I'm sure there was a little bit of that there. In a 2021 interview with Entertainment Tonight, Kim Coles noted that while the show was important for representing Black communities, it was a hit among many different audiences, even if some tried to say it wasn't.
We kept being told that we were a Black show, but I remember going to the bank one time, and this little old Jewish man, and I knew who he was because I'm from Brooklyn. He squeezed my arm. "Hello, beautiful. I love that show with all you beautiful girls. Beautiful girls. I love it. It's wonderful." And he's nothing like the demographic that they said we had, and yet he was watching because it reminded him of home.
Outside of the show's groundbreaking level of representation, the show was also very fun to watch. It kept audiences enthralled and did so well that after a year, NBC used the same formula and aired Friends in 1994. Some who worked on Living Single are skeptical of the originality of Friends, with Latifah doubting it publicly during a 2017 appearance on Andy Cohen's show Watch What Happens Live. It was one of those things where it was a guy called Warren Littlefield that used to run NBC, and they asked him when all the new shows came out, they said, if there's any show you could have, which one would it be? And he said Living Single, and then he created Friends. Even worse, all pretenses were dropped when Fox moved Living Single from its prime Sunday night spot to Thursday to compete directly with Friends' Thursday night spot on NBC. A stark polarization developed in which viewers had to choose between the sitcoms. And the rest is history. Friends went on to become a cultural juggernaut still popular today, and Living Single was canceled after 5 seasons. John expressed his frustration about the whole thing to Comedy Hype in 2019.
We got no acknowledgement. That's the thing that bothered me the most. But it was just too similar. It was 6 of us and 6 Black folks in New York City versus 6 white folks in New York City. Same apartment. It was just and it was just like, and they'll say, "Oh, that was the most creative show in the world," and they don't give us that kind of love. And that's the thing, because what Yvette came up with was something that had never been done.
As Friends became popular, it received more promotion from NBC, while Living Single was left to flounder and slowly fade from the limelight by Fox. In the 90s up through to today, anyone can walk into a gift shop in New York City and find Friends cups, t-shirts, pens, hats, calendars, and every other form of merchandise. In contrast, merch for Living Single is nowhere to be found. Erika spoke to Today about the larger conversation about the ongoing comparisons between Living Single and Friends. Though the shows had similar cast structures and storylines, she says the shows didn't receive the same support from their respective studios. She also said that how studios go about deciding which projects are greenlit into production and their specific budgets warrants further scrutiny. The production budget for the final season of Friends was $10 million per episode, according to NBC News. Yahoo Entertainment reported that of the $10 million budget, each of the 6 main cast members received $1 million per episode. The production budget for each of the 5 seasons of Living Single was just over $1 million per episode. Show budgets typically increase, though, with every new season renewal, but Yvette said that wasn't the case for her show. "We had tremendous budgetary limitations. We were on a particularly lean budget, and the reason we were given that was we were still part of a startup network, Fox, and it was still claiming new status." Fox was founded in 1986. Living Single premiered 7 years later. NBC was founded in 1926. Friends premiered 68 years later. In 2020, Friends star David Schwimmer made a comment about his former show and the issue of equality during his interview with The Guardian that blew Living Single fans' minds. And not in a good way. Maybe there should be an all-Black Friends or an all-Asian Friends. The following day, Erika tweeted an article of his comments with a message for him that reads in part, "Hey, at David Schwimmer at Friends TV, are you seriously telling me you've never heard of Living Single? We invented the template. You're welcome, bro. David took to Twitter, now X, the day after to respond to Erika's comments in a lengthy statement that reads in part, "I didn't mean to imply living single hadn't existed or indeed hadn't come before Friends, which I knew it had. Please remember, in an interview, quotes are often pieced together and taken out of context. And then these quotes are repurposed in other articles by other people who are trying to be provocative. In any event, if my quote was taken out of context, it's hardly in my control. I assure you I meant no disrespect." Today, reruns of Living Single currently air daily on various US cable networks. It's also now streaming on Hulu and Max, formerly HBO Max. Warner Home Video released the complete first season of the show on DVD in 2006, with the rest of the seasons slowly released over the next decade. The entire series is also available for digital download on Amazon.com and iTunes. When asked what she thinks the legacy of Living Single is, Yvette says 2 words immediately come to mind: cultural impact. We didn't just set out to make a TV show. We set out to make a universally entertaining but culturally specific experience. And I think we achieved that.